Hello, fellow MediaWiki users. This tutorial will demonstrate how to create tables, maps, and infoboxes in MediaWiki using data from a MySQL server and the external data extension. I have two tables in my database, one with a list of employees and one with a list of offices. This could also pull data from your asset management system or maybe a ticketing system to make the wiki an aggregation point and a true knowledge base. I have a companion document to this video that lists each step and is hosted at mshell.net/wikidemo, and you can copy-paste the wiki source code from there right into your project. I'm using an Amazon AWS EC2 instance, a T2 Micro, which has only one CPU and 1 GB of memory, but it runs MediaWiki and MySQL just fine. Also, it's part of the AWS free tier. So the first 10 steps describe how to do the initial installation configuration of Apache, MySQL, PHP, SSL, and MediaWiki. There are links here to the tutorials I used, and I also have a data export from the MySQL server, which you can import right into yours. Once you have those steps completed, open your LocalSettings.php and add these lines to the bottom. I'm using VS Code with the FTP Simple extension to connect to the server. Here you configure the database name, server name, user, password, and each of the prepared statements. The first two statements pull all data from the employee and office tables, and the four statements below them use a parameter sent from the wiki page. In each case, I'll be using the page name variable, which will map to the office city. You can see the where statement equals question mark, and that references the parameter. And in the types field, the S specifies that the parameter is a string type. And if your parameter is an integer, you would use an I. A nice thing about MediaWiki is that it reads the LocalSettings.php file each time a wiki page is refreshed. So you don't need to stop and restart any service when you make changes to it. Just be sure to save it. So now we'll go to the MediaWiki web interface and create a new wiki page called Offices. And I'll paste in this code right here to pull the data and make it available on this page. Each wiki page that displays external data will need a getDBData statement at the top. The DB value corresponds to the WG external data sources you configured in the LocalSettings.php, and the query value corresponds to the prepared statement name. Then the values following the data equals create a local variable that maps to the external data header. As a test, I'm going to paste in external value office city surrounded by double curly braces. It should show the first office city value. Good, Springfield is the first city. And now once we've verified that, I'll click Edit Source again, and we can paste in the code to build the table. If you're building a complicated table in MediaWiki, I recommend you install the Visual Editor extension, because then you can build your table in Excel or Google Sheet and paste it into the Visual Editor and save it, then click Edit Source to modify it to include the variable names. You can see in the wiki table it uses 3 curly braces around the local variable name, and I have angle brackets around the office city to make this a wiki link, so each office can have its own wiki page. So let's save this and make sure our table looks good. Perfect. Now let's create a template for the info box. This will give us a place to display info specific to each office in a standardized format. To create the template, we just enter template : and the template name, in this case I called it Office Info Box, into the search box. Your results will display a message saying the template doesn't exist. Just click the link to create it and then paste in this code. Most of the syntax here is related to CSS styling. But you can see address equals, and then this variable, office_address with a capital letter, is a template variable. And that will be used on this page and also on the page that calls this template, which we'll see in just a minute. So I'll save that, and you can see the template just shows the variable placeholders, but those will be filled in once we transclude the template. Now let's work on the map. You'll need a Google Map API key, and you can click the link here to get one. You'll need to install Composer. When you SSH to your server, navigate to the same directory as the file LocalSettings.php before you issue the Composer commands. Then add these 3 lines to the bottom of your LocalSettings.php and substitute your key right here. And be sure to save it. Back to the Wiki web interface, we can go to Special and Version to verify that the Maps extension is loaded. Then I'll go back to the Offices page, click Edit Source, and paste in these lines. Here you can see it's using display map along with for external table, and the variables are the same with 3 curly braces around them. And on this pop-up text, I have double angled brackets, so they will link to the Office wiki page. And you can see the zoom level is 4, which will show us the entire country. The higher the number, the closer it zooms to the location. I'll click Save, and the map looks great. The labels are displaying the office names, and they're in the correct locations on the map. My pages are already created, but yours will create automatically when you click on them. And then just paste in the same code into each office. I'll make this a bit bigger, and you can see I have 4 getDBData statements, each calling a different prepared statement in the LocalSettings.php. Also, by entering the page name in all caps, it will send the page name, which in this case is the office city, as a parameter to the database and return the appropriate data for that office. Down here is the code related to the infobox. Before we were using for external table, and that looped through the data to create the table and map. But here we just want one value, so I'm using external value. The variable name before the equal sign corresponds to the variable name in the template, and the name after external value corresponds to the variable name following data equals in one of the getDBData statements above. You could use the same name on both sides of the equal sign, as long as your getDBData statements are pulling from different column names. I'm using different names here because I think it makes the code easier to read and makes troubleshooting easier. Plus, if you ever want to have the same column name in 2 different getDBData statements, you'll need to use different local variable names to tell them apart. Then below that, I'm using external value to display the city name at the top and in the map at the bottom. I have the zoom set to 13, which will show us the local neighborhood. So I'll click Save, and look at that. We have our info box on the right, populated with database info for this office, and the map is showing the correct location. Now I'll just go to each office and paste in that same code. The last thing I'll show you is the employee list. I'll click Edit Source, and at the top, the getDBData is pretty straightforward with just 4 variables. But in the database, I have the value of 1 for manager and 2 for receptionist. And here I'm using the switch command to replace the 1 with the word manager and the 2 with the word receptionist. And if the value is something other than 1 or 2, it displays the word unknown, and if there's no value, it displays nothing. Just like that. And there you go. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.